Assalamu alaikum students. I hope you all are well, safe and healthy at home and giving time to your studies. I'm your course instructor and welcome to all of you in this class of semantics. And previously, basically, you were taught about the theories of semantics, in which we have discussed the different theories of semantics, that how to give meaning to the words. Well, in this class, I am here with another important topic of semantics, which is lexical semantics. So in this class, you will learn about the lexical semantics, that what is it and why is it to study, and what you will basically you need to study in the lexical semantics. So let's start with topic. Basically, when we talk about the lexical semantics, so it is the study of word meaning. It seeks to represent the meaning of each word in the language, and it tries to show how the meanings of words in a language are interrelated. Mean, what is the relationship between the words and among the words' meaning in any language. So this is basically the lexical semantics. So in other words, we can also define lexical semantics as this is basically one of the branches of linguistics. And logically it concerned with meaning, as I told you that it is the study of word meaning. So the two main areas are here under the category of lexical semantics. The one is the logical semantics, which is concerned with the matters such as the sense and reference, and the other is the other is basically the lexical semantics. Under the branch of the linguistics, which is lexical semantics, there is basically logical semantics and lexical semantics. When specifically we talk about the lexical semantics, it is concerned with the analysis of word meanings and relations with them. So in today's class, we will specifically talk about the relationship among the words and between the words. So lexical semantics, according to in the lexical semantics, as we do study the relationship of the meaning of words, so a word is in relationship with other words in the same sentence. It is possible that the word is in relationship with other words in the same sentences because words have relationships with other words. And when we talk about the meaning of the words, they do interrelate, because in the proper type theory, you learned that different objects, when fulfill, have properties, and then they basically share their properties with the main central object, so they fall under that category. So when we talk about the word relationships, so other words that are related but absent from the context. Basically, relationships is that a word is in relationship with other words in the same sentence, because sometimes the other words that are not related but absent from the context. Here, this point can be explained with the example that I saw my mother just now. For instance, if someone is stating that I saw my mother just now. So the word mother, here the word mother, without any further information, it's pretty clear that the speaker saw a woman. After listening the word mother, what will occur in your mind? The woman. That the speaker saw a woman. So this knowledge follows from the relationship between the uttered word mother and the related word, but which is not spoken in the sentence, which is not spoken by the speaker, which is woman. So the uttered word is mother, but unspoken or unuttered word is woman, which occurs in someone's mind when someone listens the word mother. So the question arises why it happens. Basically, the word mother contains a woman semantic element as a part of its meaning, because if we talk about the meaning of the mother, biologically a woman, married, and we can define the word mother in a different sense. The properties of mother is basically also a woman, which is a semantic element as parts of its meaning. So this is the relationship, means mother, the word mother has relationship with the woman because it relates to this word. This is the relationship, because without utterance, without speaking the particular words, this listener can unthink about the word which is related to the main particular word which is uttered by the speaker. So this is basically the points which we will this is basically the lexical semantics, the relationship between the words and among the words, how the words relate to other words. This is what we will talk about in today's class. So lexical semantics is the systematic study of meaning related properties of word, because after explaining the this example, I hope this point will be pretty clear into your mind, because here I told you that the word mother, after the utterance of word mother, women will occur in the mind of the speaker, although the word women has not been uttered, because the word mother has the property of women. So we can define that lexical semantics is the systematic study of meaning related properties of words. So the central topic which are basically taught and which are asked and discussed in lexical semantics are how best to specify the meaning of a word, means how to specify the meaning of the word, how to properly attach meaning to the word. Paradigmatic relations of meaning such as synonym, antonyms, and hypermeaning. And the third is that syntagmatic relations of meaning including selectional restrictions, and the structures in lexicon such as taxonomic hierarchies, change of word meaning over time. This is also the concern of lexical semantics, process of meaning extension such as metaphor and metonymy. So lexical semantics is contrasted with grammatical semantics too, and may exclude aspects of meaning treated under pragmatics. So basically these all are the points which are discussed under the lexical semantics, and lexical semantics is contrasted with the grammatical semantics, because in lexical semantics the word walk, walking, and walks, these all will fall into the category of lexical semantics. But from grammatical point of view, if we talk about from the form point of view, then grammatical point of view, these all verbs will fall in different categories. And so in lexical semantics, sometimes it may exclude the aspects of meaning treated under pragmatics. So this is basically the proper explanation that what is lexical semantics and what do we study in lexical semantics. So let's talk about the meaning of the words, which is basically the basic purpose of talking about the lexical semantics. So words and grammatical categories. When we talk about the grammatical categories, which are specifically the nouns, pronouns, prepositions, connectives, these are basically the grammatical categories which do reflect the semantic differences, because the different categories of words must be given different semantic descriptions, because every grammatical category reflects the different semantic descriptions. That's why so the different categories of words must be given different semantic difference. So as I told you that in grammatical division of the words and semantic division of the word, there are differences in the lexical semantics. So let me explain it with example, because the types of the words operate in different ways. If we talk about the category of nouns, so they are different, they have the different categories. They are used to refer names are the nominals, but when we talk about the connectives, they do not refer. These are the logical words like or, not, etc. And the dactic words can only be interpreted in particular context, mean this and that. Similarly, when we talk about the pronouns, we do understand pronouns on the basis of the context, and the others are very consistent in meanings. Like we can say the words like not, the words any, the word all. These are the words which have the consistent meaning. These are the logical words, as I told you that in the lexical semantics, which is basically the study of the meaning of the words, here it has two categories. The logical semantics and the lexical semantics. When it comes to the logical semantics, here it deals with the words which have consistent meaning. So it is specifically related to sense and reference. And lexical semantics basically focused on the relationship among the words and between the words. So in this lecture, in this topic of lexical semantics, we will specifically focus on the nouns and verbs category of the grammatical categories, because there are other grammatical categories: pronouns, adjectives, adverbs, and connectors, conjunctions. But here we will specifically focus on nouns and verbs grammatical categories. So let's talk about words and lexical items. Basically, whenever we discuss about the words, we are bound to talk about dictionary and lexicon, orthographic words, phonological words, and word forms. Let me tell you that what is dictionary and lexicon. You all are pretty aware about the dictionary. Basically, it's lexicon or dictionary is basically a list of all words in a language together with idiosyncratic information, which provides the information idiosyncratically about the words. And orthographic words is basically a sequence of symbols separated from other sequences by spaces. These are basically here it means basically we are talking about the words, that what is a word. So dictionary, lexicon, when we talk about the dictionary, it comes in our mind that it is basically the explanation, providing the information about the word in a language. And orthographic words is basically the sequence, basically the structure of the word which is separated from the other words. If you look, let me explain with this sentence. Here the orthographic word, here sequence is a word which is separated from of, and this word is separated from symbols with a space. So with the proper space, the words are separated from others. This is basically called orthographic words. And phonological words, on the basis of the sounds when the words are identified, this is called the phonological words. Strings of sounds which may show internal structuring that cannot occur otherwise outside the word and syntax. So on the basis of the sounds, the words are identified. This is called the phonological words. And word forms, where the same semantic word can be represented by several grammatical distinct variants. This is called the word forms. For example, when we talk about the walk, walks, or walking. So this is basically the class of the words. All verbs are in the one form of the word. So this is basically about the words, or we can say that we do talk about words from all these angles. So the question arises that how to define the word. What is the word? As I already told you, it has the different descriptions, that dictionary, list of words, orthographic on the basis of the spaces, phonological on the basis of the sounds, and word forms on the basis of the syntactic or structure, grammatical point of view, the classification of and the distinction of the word. Although from semantical point of view, they have the different meaning, but in grammatical or syntactical point of view, they will fall under the same category. So when we talk about the definition of the word, so exactly what constitutes a word differs from language to language and even within a single language. So there is a no hard and proper defined one definition of the word. According to John Iside, watertight definitions are hard to come by. Furthermore, different characteristics are needed for phonological words, syntactic words, lexical items, which usually include the non-compositional phrases such as the idioms and idiomatic phrases. So the problem arises here that how to define the words, because there are different classification and different types. When we talk about the word, it can be defined from different angles. So previously you were taught about the theories of semantics, in which you learned about the prototype theory, in which is specifically that every word has a properties, and the main word which share the main major properties, and other words which share those some part or few of those properties, they fall under that particular categories. So a proper typical word has the following properties. So here are the three properties of the words, because there is no watertight one definition of the word. These are the properties on the basis of which we can define the word. Said that it is the smallest grammatical unit that can be moved around in a sentence or be separated from its fellows by the insertion of new material. And it is the largest unit which cannot be interrupted and whose elements cannot be reordered. It consists of a single root, either alone or with one or more affixes. I'm sure you must be aware about the affixes, prefixes, and the root of the word. So it has been defined from these three properties. Anything which fulfills these three properties can be called the word. The smallest grammatical unit, the largest unit which cannot be interrupted and whose elements cannot be reordered. Like if I take the example of this word, or if I take the example of prototype or property, so the order of the word, this word which is basically specifically I'm using, this order cannot be changed, because the reorder will change the word. Then it will become an other word. So it consists of a single root, either alone, and sometimes affixes and prefixes are added. So this is basically the definition, or in other sense you can see the properties of the word. So let's talk about more about the words in this session. So the different definitions have been given by different linguists. According to Bloomfield, he defined word grammatically as the minimum free form which doesn't consist entirely of lesser free forms. This definition basically leaves the words like the and my in a gray area, since they are free units but do not occur independently. So Lyons has suggested that the attachments between elements within a word will be firmer than will the attachments between words themselves. So this definition, like Bloomfield's, leaves the as a problem. So the question arises that how to define the words. So words are identifiable at grammatical level, but there will be some borderline cases. This has been given by the Bloomfield, because he himself later on stated that there are the borderlines as the properties. So as we talked about the properties in the prototype theory. So when we talk about the entry of the lexical dictionary entries, basically several lexemes can be represented by one grammatical and phonological order, or one grammatical and phonological word. For example, foot. If we take the example of the foot, which has more than one senses. It can be the part of a leg, it can be the bottom, and it can be the measurement unit. So lexical entries are expected to include pronunciation, grammar, or grammatical point of view or grammatical category, meaning and meaning relations with other lexemes. This is very important for the division and classification of the words. So words listed under one lexical entry share some properties, be it related meanings or related etymology. These words also share grammatical and phonological properties. So the two problems can arise while listing lexical entries. First is cases when the same phonological word belongs to different grammatical categories, like heat as a verb and heat as a noun. So it can create a problem. So under which entry are multi-word units like idioms, phrasal verbs, and collocation to be located? So when we talk about the entries of lexical items into the dictionaries, so it again, there are two problems that what to do with the words which have the same phonological, the words which are although same phonological words, but they have different grammatical categories. And what about those words which are basically multi-word units? So the problems with pinning down word meanings. Usually it is easier to define a word if you are given the sentence in which that particular word basically occurs. But these contextual effects pull word meaning into two opposite directions. The tendency for words to occur together repeatedly makes them semantically homogeneous, and creativity causes semantic shift. Some writers describe the distinction of whether the different meanings of a word in different contexts are different senses of the word or examples of the same senses, basically influenced by the context. So again, the problem arises while pinning down the meaning of the words. So let's talk about the collocation. So that in which category we need to fall the collocations, idioms, etc. So the collocation, basically the term collocation originated from the Latin word which basically means the place together. So collocations are basically the words which do occur together in the sentences. Most generally, the term collocation denotes a meaningful word combination. We can call them a combination which occurs in a natural language. Collocation is any grammatical well-formed sequence of words that go together without any oddness. Collocation is a sequence of words that is compositional, unlike a prototypical idiom, for example, but nonetheless forms a unit in some way. Here we can see the comparison: strong tea versus powerful tea, powerful car versus strong car. So these collocations can undergo a fossilization process until they become fixed expressions. For example, hot and cold water, cold and hot water, black and white. So these are basically collocations. So while talking about the meaning and defining the meaning of the word, context also arises because the context can affect the meaning. So contextual effect, basically context can pull word meaning towards creativity and semantic shift. I already told you that context is basically the situation in which someone is uttering. Context can be the environment, context can be the idea, context can be the reason of talking. So it can be the culture. So context can pull word meaning towards creativity and semantic shift. So consider the different meanings of run. I go for a run every morning. So in this sentence, run means he basically goes for walking or running every morning for walk. So we took the car for a run. Again here, the car has been used for the purpose of the run. And in third sentence, you can see he built a new run for the chickens. In these three sentences, we can see that the word run has been used in different senses, in a different meaning, due to differences in the context. So how to view the meaning of the run? This is a problem. Is there some sketchy common meaning that is elastic enough to be made to fit all? Definitely no. So are there different senses of the word, or are this one sense influenced by other different contexts? These are the questions which arise in our mind when we define the meaning of the word. So vagueness versus ambiguity. Basically, vagueness definitely arises if the senses of the word are different. It is said to be ambiguous. Whereas if the senses share a common meaning, the word is said to be vague because the senses are similar and the word is vague. But if the senses are different, and we can say it is said to be ambiguous. So in the case of ambiguity, the context will cause one of the senses to be selected, and after that we will be able to understand the meaning of the word. So syntactical ambiguity can arise, and lexical ambiguity can also arise, because the ambiguity of an utterance, there are two types, lexical and syntactical ambiguity. So purely lexical in origin, here you can see, I'll meet you at the bank. If someone is uttering, so the lexical confusion and ambiguity can arise here on the basis of the meaning of the word bank, whether it's the financial institution or the by the side of the river. So which bank the other person is basically referring to. And grammatical ambiguity is basically that chimpanzee is cooking. So here the question arises that chimpanzee is either cooking something or being cooked. So these type of ambiguities are called grammatical ambiguity, and when the ambiguity arises on the basis of the meaning, then it is called the lexical ambiguity, and this is the syntactical ambiguity. So there are basically two kinds of vagueness. First is indeterminacy meaning, and second one is basically the specification vagueness. The first one is indeterminacy of meaning, that this is basically that is cases in which the meaning of lexical item appears to be quite intangible. For example, the adjective good, it has a range of senses. It can be used for the good pen, good pencil, good man, the good student, the good teacher, the good weather. So as well as in describing the same thing. So this type of and when we talk about the second type of vagueness, this is basically the lack of specification. That is cases in which the meaning of the lexical item is in principle quite clear but is very general. Because examples of vagueness due to lack of specification are the terms such as teacher, cousin, and neighbor, or we can say the student, teacher. It is basically unspecified whether it is being used for the male or the female. So similarly cousin and neighbor, and similarly the student. So these are basically the vagueness and the types of the vagueness, and these are the tests which are used to basically these tests have been proposed for distinguishing between the vagueness and the ambiguities, and these are the three tests. So it is all about today's class. In next class, the rest of the part of this chapter, we will talk about the lexical and the sense relations among the words. We will talk about the synonyms, antonyms, which we discussed in the start, that in lexical semantics we do talk about the syntagmatic and paradigmatic relationship among the words. So this is what we will talk in the next class. In today's class, we basically talk about the lexical semantics, the problems in giving word meaning to the words, and basically what to study in the lexical semantics, and which type of ambiguities can arise while giving meaning to the words. And we also discussed about the word definitions about the word. So it was all about today's class. I hope the points are pretty clear in your mind. In case of any confusion, you can study in detail the book of John Iside. And for further clarification, you can discuss with me in the class time in discussion room. So till the next class, take care. Allah Hafiz.